What's going on, everybody? You know who it is. This is Austin, the investor agent, and today we're going to be talking about the 4 steps to buying a home. Now, usually you can go after an investment property in the same way, and usually I love to teach about buying investment property, but today we're going to be discussing the 4 steps to buying a home, your forever home, your dream home, your starter home, condo, townhome, residential homes. So we'll get a chance to jump into it, and I'm going to be deciding whether I should do this maybe once a week or twice a week, but going forward, I'm going to start bringing the material straight to you, so that way you might not have to ask all the questions, and therefore I will be there to answer them for you. So let's jump right into this. The 4 steps to buying a home. You ready? To set 2019 off. You've spoken with the family, you checked your pockets, you're looking to make the next move into home ownership. So where do you begin? 2019, I'm going to set your goals off right. Step number 1 is getting your pre-approval. This is the pre-approval. Please don't mind the handwriting, because just don't mind the handwriting. Pre-approval. This is your first step into home ownership. Your pre-approval is going to be the official notice from your lender, and we'll talk about where you can get a mortgage from. But this simply says, hey, you are now approved up to X amount as far as your mortgage. This is the very first step. It is also the step that is often most overlooked. And the main reason why is because people love to get their emotions involved with home buying, and they'll get a chance to see a really nice home on Zillow or Trulia or one of these other websites, and all of a sudden they believe that they can now afford that particular home. Step number 1, pre-approval. Now you can get your mortgage from a couple of different sources. The same bank that offers you your checking and your savings account can also be your mortgage provider. There are also various lending companies that specialize in loaning mortgages. You can easily just hop right onto Google and type in mortgage company or lending company, and a plethora of companies will come up. It's going to be up to you and your agent, who you're going to be working with, assuming that's me, to identify where you want to be monthly mortgage-wise. That is the most important part, because the company is going to give you the most amount of money possible. That's how they make their money. However, in order for you to stay in control of your money, you're going to have to know and reverse engineer where you want to be monthly mortgage-wise. So if you say, you know what, based off of our current budget, we want to be in $2,000, $2,500, $2,000, we'll keep it easy, nice and simple, $2,000 a month. No problem. Your mortgage company might give you a pre-approval in the amount of, say, $400,000. And immediately, the moment that you receive that pre-approval for $400,000, what do? You start looking at homes worth $400,000. That is a no-no. Back up. Come back to me. Come back to me now. Start off where you want to be monthly mortgage-wise. Where do you want your monthly payment to be? As you figure that out, that will set off your search. Because then you might say, you know what? I want to go after, a home with 4 beds, 2 bath, finished basement, everything like that, but it won't give you your $2,000 a month monthly mortgage payment. So you're going to have to pick one. Well, actually, no, you don't have to pick one. The proof is in the pudding. You can't afford it. You can't afford it. I tried. It's not going to work for you. So, monthly payment, where do you want to be monthly mortgage-wise? That's going to tailor the entire search, because you also have to factor in taxes, which is often overlooked. And if you're going after a condo or a townhome, you also have to remember the HOA fees. Your monthly mortgage payment is going to be comprised of your principal, that's the balance, the total amount, the interest on top of that, your taxes, which people forget about, but it's factored into the monthly mortgage payment, and your insurance, your homeowner's insurance. If somebody slips and breaks their neck in front of your property, you have homeowner's insurance. Same thing like a car. The one thing that, and then the only other thing, if you're going after a townhome or a condo, you'll have to factor in your HOA fees into the total amount. Because some people, they look at Zillow, they look at Trulia, they see a beautiful home, and then Zillow's mortgage calculator tells you that this can be yours for $1,400 a month. True and not true. True if you put down 20%, which on a $400,000 property, you're talking $80,000. Or they factored in just the mortgage, principal and interest. That's it. They don't factor in the taxes. They don't factor in the insurance, because they know that the taxes and insurance are going to be able to vary based off of where you live. So, step one, pre-approval, get the money straight. That's going to relieve a lot of anxiety, because the money is the most important part of your entire transaction. It's also going to be the most stressful part of your transaction. So if you handle this first, you get probably one of the biggest stresses out of the equation. All right, so you handle your pre-approval. You get your shiny new letter. What's next? Now it's time to go house hunting. Step 2, house hunting. At this point, since you already have your money correct, you know what type of house you can go after. When you sit down in the very beginning, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be communicating with your agent, hopefully me. You're going to be communicating with them exactly what you're looking for. Austin, I love the 4-bed, 2.5-bed, colonial with a finished basement, a pool in the back. I need spacious rooms. I need a spacious kitchen. The layout has to make sense. I want whatever that is. That's totally up to you. More power to you. Those are your desires. And it's going to be your agent's job to match exactly what you're looking for and the budget that you can actually work with. So, don't be surprised if you can't go after the house that you envisioned in your mind. That's okay. Get past that. Focus on exactly where you are monthly mortgage payment. Because the sad reality is, American dream, right? Home ownership. It's the American dream. No, it's not. They lied to us. They lied to us all. But that's another story. Because that's how the banks make their money. But we'll talk about that in another episode. So, house hunting, you get the ball rolling based off of where you are monthly mortgage wise. As you start your hunt, you'll get a chance to start to feel exactly what you can potentially go after with the budget that you're working with. So as you visit a couple of homes, you'll start to feel better about the experience, because you'll have experience in learning, okay, in my particular position, based off of these homes that are in my price range, I went out, I visited all these homes, and I realized that I'm probably, in this particular budget, I might have to make a few repairs. Am I okay with that? Or whatever other aesthetic challenges that prevent you from getting your dream home if you're not able to afford that just yet. You will in the future. House hunting. The easiest way, so it doesn't take up too much of your time, is to batch appointments together. Now, it's a lot easier when homes are vacant and you're able to just go in whenever you would like. But as your agent pulls you a list, if you can bang out a lot in a little bit of time, it would be better rather than trying to spread it out over the course of days. At the same time, let's not be naive at the simple fact that your dream home might not yet be on the market. Can't do anything about it. You have to go through the process. But that is step 2. House hunting, go after it. hit the ground running, and you will not be disappointed. As you are going around and house hunting, your agent's going to be able to pick out certain things that you may or may not be thinking about. For example, it being sold as is. It can be a beautiful home, but if it's being sold as is, then at that point you won't be able to ask for anything regarding the inspection. You won't be able to ask for a credit if anything goes wrong. Sold as is. We won't necessarily talk about that, but your agent is going to be looking out for various things that you might not be thinking about in your own head. Rightfully so, because you don't have too much experience in there. So keep that in mind. Keep an open mind. Be willing to adjust. Be willing to adapt based off of what's currently out in the market and what's currently, coming to the market. And play the process, and you will be completely fine. Just work through it. Step number 3. You've searched, you've visited properties, you've done your homework, you've done your diligence, you've hit the ground running, and you found a property that speaks to you. Like you walk in and it's like, oh, ooh, my voice is a little shocked, so I'll try to edit that. Maybe it might not be edited. But it speaks to you. It's like the gods are coming down and telling you this is the home for you. The house gods are talking to you. And what is the next step? Found a perfect home, submitting an offer. So, offer time. We like offer time, because that gets you one step close to the home that you ultimately desire. When submitting an offer, there's 2 components of a particular offer. There are the price, obviously, and the terms. And what the price is, obviously self-explanatory. When it comes down in terms, it's the details of the actual transaction. When is the closing date? When are you going to be submitting your deposit? When is the home inspection? What are you looking to, do with the appraisal? What kind of down payment are you putting down? What type of mortgage company are you using? Are you going to ask for things on the home inspection? Is the dishwasher and the refrigerator included? The details, the overall surrounding details of the actual transaction. When you submit your offer, you're going to be submitting an offer on a standard real estate contract. But at that point, that contract is going to go to the attorneys after, which we'll discuss in a little bit. But for right now, we're just focusing on the offer, which is composed of 2 parts, the price and the terms. If you're in a situation where the home that you're looking to go after doesn't have any competition, it doesn't have any other people looking at it, any other offers, chances are, if it's a home that you really, really like, chances are you're not going to be the only one. I'm going to get back to that in a second. I just want to make sure that this is still recording, considering the fact that this is my first time going live, and I just want to make sure. Okay, so we're still on here. So when it comes down to price and when it comes down to terms, in a simple situation, if nobody else is going after that home, you have a little bit more flexibility, considering the fact that you're the only individual. But what happens if you happen to be one of 2 offers, or 3, or 4, or in this particular hot market, 10, 11, 12? How do you stand out from the competition? With just two aspects, price and terms, how do you stand out from the competition? What can you do? Well, with price, obviously, you can do one thing, and one thing only with price. You can only offer higher, which is no problem. The only thing that you'll have to keep in mind when submitting an offer higher is two things. One, does it still fit within your particular budget and down payment? Because your down payment is going to be a percentage of the actual purchase price. Are you still within your budget? Are you still within your financial realm? Cool, no problem at all. You can offer higher. Now, say if the house that you're looking to go after is $300,000 and you know that there are multiple offers. If you submit an offer for $300,000, there's a chance that somebody could beat you. So you say, okay, I would like to offer higher. Let's do $310 or $315. Awesome, no problem at all. The only other thing that you'll have to keep in mind is that the home has to appraise for that same amount. So, say for example, you had a budget of up to $350,000 and you're going after this $300,000 home and you say, you know what? I really, really, really want this home. I have no problem. I'll do whatever it takes. Like, it's the best home for me and my family. I want to go after it. So you submit an offer for $350,000 on a $300,000 home because you want to lock it up. In the seller's mind, they're like, you know what? That's awesome. Like, why wouldn't they take $350,000? But the only thing, like I mentioned, that you have to keep in mind is that the home has to appraise, be valued by your mortgage company for the same amount. Because your mortgage company is not going to give you a dime over what they believe, I don't want to say believe, what the appraiser of the mortgage company says the official value is. So the appraiser might go out there and they say, you know what, I mean, you're willing to offer $350,000, but the home is only worth $325,000. You have two options. One, you can only get $325,000. That's as much money as the bank is going to give you. So you can either say, can't do it, no biggie, or you can literally cover the difference between the two. So an extra $25,000 out of your pocket. I rarely recommend individuals do that unless they're extremely liquid, unless it's extremely within their budget, and if they can handle it without worry. That's with your price. You can only do one thing in regards to price, just offer higher. In regards to terms, what are some of the terms that you can do, or what are some of the terms that you can adjust to strengthen your particular offer? You can strengthen your deposit. You can strengthen your down payment. Again, just forgive the handwriting. I'm going to start with these two right here. Deposit and down payment. They are two different things, but kind of one and the same. So they're two sides of the same coin. How does this work? Your down payment is going to be a percentage of whatever your purchase price is. And that's going to be your down payment towards the loan. Towards the loan. Your deposit is going to be what's held before you close. Your deposit on the house. The sellers want to feel comfortable that you are invested into the transaction to make sure that you're going to close and that you're not going to just walk away for no apparent reason. So, your down payment, let's give you an example. $300,000 home, let's say you're putting 10% down, just an even number. There are more than enough. I'll do another one on the different mortgage types, but let's say 10% down, $300,000 home, so $30,000. Now, $30,000 is going to be your down payment. That's your down payment towards the actual loan, but your deposit might only be $10,000. You see how that works? Now, at the closing table, that $10,000 that you have as your deposit is going to count towards, it's going to be credited towards your down payment. So if you put up $10,000 as a deposit, you only have to bring $20,000 to the closing. But that $10,000 deposit simply says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's $10,000 because we want you to feel safe with removing your home from the market and believing in us that we're going to make sure that the transaction works, that We're not going to walk away from the transaction. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize the transaction. We are invested because at the end of the day, if the buyers are in breach of contract, bye-bye. Your deposit's gone. Your seller is taking the cash because at the end of the day, you never know what the seller was preparing for. What if you were the seller? A buyer came to you and said, hey, listen, I'm ready to, I'm going to pre-purchase in your home. You started making plans. You're planning to move out of this state. You're planning to move out of the country. You're planning to relink with family. You called the movers. You're getting everything packed up. You're exhausting all this energy, time, resources in order for you to prepare for the next chapter of your life. And then all of a sudden the buyers are like, I'm sorry. You see what happened was you're going to be furious. That's the point of a deposit. All right? So you have your deposit, you have your down payment. You can increase your deposit to make your offer stronger. You can increase your down payment to make your offer stronger. So that way the seller sees that you are an individual that is willing to make the transaction work. Some other ways that you can make your offer stronger, which obviously deals around the offer terms, is if it's a pristine house, like it's got to be beautiful on the inside. Then you might say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it doesn't look like we'll have too much inspection issues. Let's remove the home inspection contingency. I only recommend that very, very few times, more not than often. So, but that is one of the ways that you can increase your offer because any transaction, and we'll talk about the steps within the actual transaction after your offer is accepted. But the 2 points in which any transaction usually falls apart are the home inspection and the appraisal/mortgage commitment period, which is that point where the appraiser or the mortgage company will send out an appraiser to make sure that the home is worth exactly what you're paying for. And as far as the buyers getting their mortgage, hopefully they've done everything that they need to do so that way they don't mess up their mortgage in between the process. Because they can submit an offer on your home as the buyer, you can submit an offer on a seller's property, seller accepts, you're moving forward, and then for whatever strange reason, you decide to go buy a new car, or you decide to go buy some new furniture on your credit card, and then that messes up your score, or you lose your job, and now your debt-to-income ratio is off. Anything surrounding the mortgage has the potential to fall apart. So those are the two biggest areas. So saying to the seller, hey, listen, we won't ask for much on the home inspection. That might make them feel comfortable. Or you say, for example, if you were able to offer all cash, then that usually trumps any type of mortgage. But for simplicity, we're only dealing with purchases that are taken onto a mortgage. Only because if you did have that much cash, I would never recommend that you buy a single family home with all that cash. You can buy several investment properties with the same amount of money. All right, so those are some of the ways. But your agent is going to be able to coach you. I wanted to give you some examples, but all this revolve around your offer. Step number 4. When you get to this step number 4, you searched, you've handled your pre-approval, you've done your house hunting, you found an offer, you found a house that you really, really like, you place an offer on it, and you hear the news that you have so desperately waited for your entire life. Offer accepted. Awesome. This is when it gets real. More real than not. Step number 4 is getting your offer accepted. So we'll say under contract. Now, when your offer is accepted, you're going to go into a period of what's known as attorney review. And at that point, that's when both attorneys, buyers and sellers, are going to be reviewing the contract, making sure that everybody's protected, each party is protected, and that there's no funny business going on. After both attorneys, there might be some other negotiations that the attorneys would like to throw in there. Maybe there's an oil tank that has to be removed. Maybe you're still negotiating on whether the refrigerator and the washer and dryer units stay within the property. Whatever those negotiations are, they're going to get hashed out before you go under contract. So your offer is accepted. Both attorneys review the contract. Both attorneys review the contract during attorney review period, and then once both attorneys say all has checked out, you now are officially under contract. So whatever the stipulations in the contract that have been laid out, both parties now have to abide by the contract. It is now legally binding. So what does under contract entail? Now this is your transactional part of the process. It includes the two, I'll break it down to three, but the two major ones are, this is where you're handling your home inspection. Hopefully you guys can see this. Your home inspection, and the appraisal. I'm going to get down here real quick. And your appraisal. The last, but depending on, usually the seller handles this, but it's your CO, is it? CO, which stands for the Certificate of Occupancy, which simply just states to the lender and to the city that title, the house title or possession, essentially, title, possession is changing. The home is being sold. The lender wants this certificate of occupancy because they want to know that they're not lending on a property that is in complete total disrepair and is not going to be lived in, because obviously if it's not being lived in or if it's not expected to be taken care of, most likely that monthly mortgage payment isn't going to be taken care of as well. So there's a difference, and there's renovation loans when you do go after distressed properties. So it's not to say that a mortgage can't lend on a distressed property. They just have to have a renovation loan that's attached to it. So you're under contract. The very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to set up your home inspection. Your home inspection is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to bring a qualified, licensed professional out to come and inspect the home, top to bottom, inside and out, from what he can see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Home inspection, his job is to tell you everything that's wrong with your home. And he's going to produce a report with everything that is wrong with your home. So think about this. You're starting off, you've gone through the entire process. You're now happy that you got an offer accepted. And the very first thing that happens while you're under contract is somebody coming out to your dream home to tell you everything that's wrong with your dream home. That's what you want to know. Most likely you won't have to fix everything. Most likely most things aren't detrimental. But at least for your knowledge, you know everything that is potentially wrong or could go wrong with your particular new home. Like I mentioned with the home inspector, this is only what he's able to visually see or test. So for example, if he were to flush the toilet and if everything looks okay, safe to assume that everything's looking okay. He can't tell that in the waste pipes or in the plumbing that there's been a brewing issue for years. He can't see that. He won't be able to tell you that. But obviously, if he was able, if he flushed the toilet and it got backed up or clogged or something like that, then he'll be able to give you his direction on it. Whether it's that or whether it's anything structure-wise, he'll be able to see the beams in the basement to see, hey, listen, is there any structural issues? Things like that. So that's what your home inspector is going to do. He can't see behind the walls. Everything that he can see in plain sight or be able to test manually, he'll be able to give his opinion on it. And if it is something that needs to be addressed, he will write that in the report for you. You get your home inspection report back. You have these items. This now opens one of two of the negotiation windows. One with you and the seller. And what I be my negotiation is that there might be the seller's home might currently have a major plumbing issue, or it may not heat the whole entire house, or maybe you might run into issues with the water line, or whatever the issues are that's written out in that home inspection. You now have the opportunity, I'm not saying they're right, I'm not saying you're guaranteed, you have the opportunity to come back to the seller and say to them, hey, Mr. and Mr. Seller, based off of this official home inspection report, it looks like you have an issue with the electrical box and it's outdated. We would like for you to repair that. Or if you don't want to repair that, we would like a credit off of the mortgage or purchase price in the amount of whatever it costs to actually fix that particular situation. Now, like I mentioned, how the home inspector can only visually see something that's right in front of him or be able to test something that's only right in front of him. It's not to say that he might tell you, I would get a licensed electrician to come out and look at this. I'd recommend that you get a licensed plumber to come out to this. I'd rather you get a roofing specialist to confirm. He might give you clues and hints like that if it's something that he can't diagnose 110%. So you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based off of this home inspection report, the electrical box looks a little outdated. And it could pose a fire hazard. It could pose a threat that, the electricity won't work in the future. We want you to fix it. If not, then please provide us a credit so we can go fix it. But you'll most likely bring a licensed electrician out. They'll provide you a quote, and then you can use that quote as documentation. But it opens, you see how it opens room for negotiations with you and the seller when you actually have your home inspection. The second thing is going to be on the buyer side, is going to be the appraisal. I'll mark an asterisk next to this because usually, like I mentioned, the seller usually handles the certificate of occupancy. But in some cases, the seller, as part of the terms of the agreement, they might tell the buyer, you know what, you handle this certificate of occupancy. So with the appraisal, as you're going through your mortgage process, and mind you, while you're handling your home inspection, while you're handling the other things, on the background, your mortgage company is just requesting documents from you. Hey, can you give us, last 2 months bank statements? Hey, can you give us a verification of employment? Hey, we need this. They'll give you a checklist of exactly what you need to keep your mortgage moving. But in the meantime, as you're handling that, you're handling your home inspection and the appraisal. The mortgage company is going to send out an appraiser to make sure that whatever purchase price or whatever price that you're paying for that particular home, that the home is worth that amount so they don't overfund you, which would cause 2008 all over again. So you go through your appraisal. You don't necessarily have to be there for that inspection. Usually your agent or the seller's agent is going to open the door for the appraiser. The appraiser is usually there for about 10 minutes. He's just getting details and features of the homes because then he's going to use comps or comparable homes that have sold as the basis of his market valuation. All right? So that is your appraisal. Once you complete these two main steps, you're pretty much in the clear. You're pretty much smooth sailing after you handle your appraisal. Like I said, the seller is usually handling the certificate of occupancy. And at that point, you're just usually tying up loose ends as you prepare for closing. But closing isn't necessarily a step. I mean, you can consider that. We'll say under contract and closing. But at that point, once everything has checked out, you'll meet at either your attorney's office or title company's office or maybe even your real estate agent's office, where the attorney is going to drop a stack of papers on your desk and they're going to tell you to sign here, 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 as you sign your life away for your brand new home. Obviously, if you have any questions about the process, any comments, any concerns, any issues, like, your friend, your best friend might have gone through a situation and be like, yo, Austin, my friend just bought they just bought a home last year and they had a nightmare transaction. Here's what happened, things like that. And it's going to be up to the agent's job to always try to keep you 3 steps ahead. So that way you're not caught with, you're not caught floating up the wrong creek, and you're staying 3 steps ahead of the process. These are the 4 steps to home buying. I hope 2019 is extremely prosperous for you. If you're thinking about making a move, whether you choose to use me as an agent or not, just run a couple of things by me if you need to. Outside of that, I'm more than welcome to answer any questions, comments, concerns, issues that you might have. And we will be signing off. I'll be here. Let me know if you need anything. 4 steps to buying a home.